It's not toxic in any way, is it?
No, it's not. Unless, you were to shove it in an orifice of your body where it shouldn't go.
But that was my first plan.
Yo.
Grace, man.
What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad.
That's good.
Yep.
I'm not talking to Tony this week.
Things are already looking up for me.
This is Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 204! Not necessarily necessary!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal on the gaming industry today. I'm your host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, is Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams. Daniel, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing great, TG in 3D. The Mile High City is rocking with Bronco Fever is getting ready to take over not only this city, but the entire country because the Denver Broncos are getting set to play against the New York Football Giants in what used to be the Meadowlands and MetLife Stadium. At this year's Super Bowl, you've heard it here first, the Manning brothers, when they're not busy rapping about football in your pants, they will be playing against each other in this year's Super Bowl, and I'm making the prediction now, and the Broncos are going to win 27-21. I'm so far ahead of this. Just go ahead and cash in all the chips. That's what's going to happen, and it's going to be great. So there you go.
I'm going to make a note of this real fast so that I can really, really mock you when the time comes.
Oh, hey, Daniel knows this stuff. He may be right on this. Huh?
Well, he's definitely right about the Manning brothers having something better to do than rap about football in your pants. That's awful.
It's true.
Brent, how you doing this week, man?
What's up, my appropriators of anarchy, my hijackers of havoc? How art thou?
I've never hijacked anything.
Yet.
That's probably a good thing. I don't know that.
Sounds like it might be actually.
What, you want to die without scars? What are you doing?
Might be actually interesting to do, I think, at some point.
I agree. Hey, that would be like a great, there should be some game that maybe in some way has something to do with hijacking or something like that, and they should come out with a ridiculously priced special edition, and one of the things you get if you pay, and I'm just going to spitball here, let's just say $1 million fucking dollars. One of the things that they ought to let you do is they ought to give you a hijacking experience where they just basically give you weapons and gear and let you try to hijack some sort of cargo vehicle.
Brett, we're not in the gauntlet yet.
We're jumping ahead here a little.
I'm just saying. I think
you
that would be
hijacked
a really
that whole
awesome
segment.
Idea. But nobody would do anything that stupid, would they?
Well, let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet,
and maybe we'll find out.
Gauntlet!
All right, guys. Well, we are here in the gauntlet, and hey,
what do you know?
Somebody's
What do you know?
done the thing. Brent that was weird.
That's so weird.
It's almost like
so
I prepared
weird.
for this show.
Wow.
Even
no,
though-
that's not true.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though nobody who listens to it would ever accuse me of that.
All right, well, so if you haven't heard the news and you have $1 million just burning a hole in your pocket, DK, what can they pick up?
Well, Saints Row 4 is got this super, super crazy, Beyond Commander-in-Chief edition known as the Super Dangerous Wad Wad edition, or alternatively, the $1 million pack, because that's how much it costs. This is the be-all, end-all of collector's editions, and basically, as Brent was alluding to in the intro there, comes with quite the roster of ridiculous items, starting, of course, with the Saints Row 4 Commander-in-Chief edition that itself is kind of crazy, has, a couple of America items, mostly, for in-game use of flamethrowers, ultra-powered dubstep guns, things like that. But when you go beyond digital with this $1 million pack, you actually get a full-size replica dubstep gun. In addition to that, you're going to get a full day of spy training, a trip to space with Virgin Galactic, 1 year's membership of E25 Supercar Club with the Lamborghini Gallardo, to make it worthwhile, they said. Plastic surgery of the purchaser's choice. A shopping spree with a personal shopper to create the ultimate Planet Saints capsule wardrobe. 7 nights for 2 at the Jefferson Hotel in Washington. A hostage rescue experience, which is oddly like barely defined at all. Just those 2
That would
words.
be like me hanging up on you guys, basically.
Yeah. Hostage rescue experience. A brand new Toyota Prius and insurance to give
Just
something
seems
back to
odd
the
at this
environment.
point.
Yeah, just throw the Prius in. And last but not least, 7 nights in the Top Royal suite of the Burj Al Arab, which is including flights for 2, which is of course the hotel in Dubai that's really famous and quite nice. Actually, I enjoy it every time I stay there. But anyway, that is quite a bit. It's $1 million.
I understand
There's
male
only
prostitution's getting really popular there these days. I'm sorry, keep talking.
There's only
Gotta be
one of
honest.
these. Only one. You can. There's not like multiple millionaires who could buy this.
Only one
Just
person
one.
can buy
Exclusively
this.
available
And-
at Game. One person. And are you guys? Should we pony up the cash and maybe do this for our 250th episode? Maybe that's the fundraiser.
No doubt. Okay, a couple of points on this. Number one, how long do you guys give it before this thing sells? I mean, like, I'm thinking that like it's going to go like the instant that, you know, like the buy button is available online. I'm thinking the instant that happens, this thing sells. What do you think?
It's available for pre-order right now. I don't.
Well, maybe I'm wrong then. If somebody can already
Yeah.
grab it, but like honestly, okay. So second question: do you think? And this would have been a better first question in hindsight. But do you think that somebody's actually going to buy this thing? I think somebody will.
No.
I don't think anybody will.
I think somebody is going to buy this thing. And
I don't think they will, and I don't know. Like, I think if you look just recently, right before this, Grid 2 had the, up until that point, like, world's most special edition, because you got a $190,000 car, and it's still available. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like
but
these are more...
$190,000 car. I mean, listen, did it come
But
with
it
the
did have
Toyota
plastic
Prius to
surgery.
offset
Did it come
your
with the
carbon
Prius?
footprint?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, and
Did it come with-
incidentally, for anybody who is interested in a little thing called math, a Toyota Prius in no way makes up for the amount of fuel a Lamborghini Gallardo burns. In no way.
Oh, I mean, you don't... I mean, the Prius is not... The Prius is just what you tell people, hey, I own a Prius.
Right, like
and then
I
you
own a
drive
Prius,
your
and
Gallardo
therefore I'm
around all the
saving
time.
the environment. I never
I mean,
drive
this is...
it,
Let's
but
be
I
honest.
got
This
it.
this should be called, like, the true Commander-in-Chief edition.
Yeah.
Like, you know, except for the fact that it should cost way more than $1 million,
Yeah.
you know, because you're definitely not overpaying for any of this stuff.
Well, you know, I that was like I was trying to figure out like what all this stuff would add up to, like, you know, if you bought it outright, and you know, some of it, like, I don't know, like, I have no idea,
dubstep
you know, like
gun.
how much a hostage rescue experience costs.
yeah, I
But-
feel like that could be sort of high on the price list there.
Yeah,
to
I
be
don't know. I
honest
mean,
with
you know, 25,000. I don't know, but you know, so like a Lamborghini Gallardo that goes for between like $400, maybe $450,000, something like that. I know Virgin Galactic charges $250,000 for their space trips. So I mean, that's $700,000
Because
right
you're saving
there.
up.
The last dubstep
Well, they're not
gum
giving you
that
the
I
car.
bought was-
Are they giving you the car? The Lamborghini?
Yes, they're giving you
Lamborghini?
the car.
I think you get both. No, I think you get that car, but you also have the experience of driving these other cars through the
Through the E25
Supercar
Super
membership.
Club. Yeah.
What does this say about the game, though? And
It says
building
that it's as
excitement.
over the top as anything can be.
Yeah, that's what it says.
No, I think it actually says that it's trying to stand out amongst like other things. Like, I mean, in a way, this kind of, I don't know, not worries me, but I do think this is kind of like cheap publicity. I mean, like, let's be honest, you know, no one listening to this is going to be buying this.
Well, not
Hey,
this show,
you
but I
don't
mean,
know
that's
that.
because we're a really high class
No,
operation. But
no one is going to be buying this.
all right, so here's the
there's
thing
no one
about
buying
it.
Richard Branson listens every week.
Yes, he
Obviously.
owns
But
Virgin
he-
Galactic. Like, he can like,
And I promise you, a Lamborghini Gallardo is like, I mean, that's like a Toyota Prius to him.
yeah.
In terms of its excitement. All right, so here's one thing that I was thinking about. Number one, I think I doubt very seriously that they are making any money on this, and I also don't think they're paying out. I imagine that you are paying for every single thing that you are getting in all of this. So about the only reason to really buy it is just for the publicity it would bring you as an individual to say, I got the fucking Saints Row, you know, $1 million pack or whatever. So I could see like somebody getting it in a sense.
As a
if you
publicity
were-
stunt of
yeah,
their
exactly.
own.
Like if they were really wanting to promote themselves, or you know, maybe some brand or company they're associated with, like I could kind of see it making sense then.
Like
but
Epic
unless
Battlecry.
unless you were just like that much of a whore, like you just desperately wanted your name to go down in the history books as the guy who got, or the girl who got this. I can't imagine that there's any there's any more value in getting this versus just doing this stuff yourself.
Yeah. But the game looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question of that. But I mean, really, I will give them credit. Like in terms of marketing ploys,
this is
that
up there.
really, really communicate the sensibilities of a brand.
Yeah.
Nothing could be more perfect for Saints Row 4 than this.
True. It'd be interesting to do a follow-up if somebody does buy it and maybe do an interview or something.
I agree. Because that person would definitely...
person's going to do
I would really, really like to ask that person a few questions.
Because they wasted $1 million.
I wouldn't call a Lamborghini Gallardo and a trip to space exactly a waste of money.
That's true.
So...
All right. Well, so some other news that we have this past week on a little bit smaller scale is
Speaking
that we
of waste of money,
that we could be seeing a Duke Nukem project coming onto the Sony PlayStation Vita. Brent, what's the deal here?
All right. So Devolver Digital, who published Duke Nukem 3D Megaton Edition on Steam recently, they tweeted a picture earlier this week showing that game running on the PlayStation Vita, and the tweet stated, "Here's Duke Nukem 3D Megaton Edition running on a PlayStation Vita. That is all." But it also tagged Abstraction Games in the tweet, who were the developers behind ports of Hotline Miami for the PS Vita and PlayStation 3. So that pretty much indicates that they're going to publish this and that Abstraction is going to develop this for the PlayStation Vita. I think the question in my mind and a lot of other people's minds is who fucking cares? After Duke Nukem Forever finally came out and flopped dramatically and spectacularly, does the Duke Nukem brand still have old school kitsch appeal? Does it still have the loyalty of its fan base? And are those people PlayStation Vita owners? Is there any chance that this isn't another spectacular failure?
No. Here's the deal. Sony, from what I understand, like we're starting to see, we're hearing rumors of like a PS4 / PS Vita bundle. Target, I think, this week is going to have the PS Vita discounted to $200, which is $50 off. So I think they're trying to make some moves in terms of getting actual hardware out amongst the masses. A game like Duke Nukem has the popularity, obviously, to draw in a certain type of crowd. Unfortunately, the last couple efforts, especially Duke Nukem Forever, was not very good. So I think the bigger play would have been to have a different Duke Nukem game. Maybe something that had a better look and a better feel. I for some reason want to see the Borderlands look infused into Duke Nukem and put on a PS Vita. I think that would be badass. But this as it stands probably is not going to move very much hardware, if anything at all. But it'll be interesting to see how both these two things, the PS Vita and Duke Nukem franchise, if they could kind of collaborate to get themselves both out of the mire. But it's not likely.
Yeah. Let's be honest. This is just. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this being done. I mean, whatever. That's fine. But it's just, it's kind of too little, too late, unless you've already got some other really good reasons for owning a Vita right now. Which I will say there's a few. Dragon's Crown is pretty amazing on the Vita. I think there's a couple of things coming down the pipe, but they're just really, really difficult. And this is just one of those things where this is why they took a picture and threw up a tweet about it, because it needs no more discussion other than that, and somehow we still turned it into a bit. So.
We're good. We're getting good at doing that, turning non-discussions into discussions.
Yeah.
4.5 years and counting.
Yep. All right. Well, so next up we have a pair of information downloads about the Xbox One and some new details we've gotten around it. So apparently that the new Kinect version that's coming with the Xbox One is not necessarily necessary anymore. DK, you want to go down?
Necessary.
Not necessarily necessary. I like that. Yes, exactly. It appears now that the what was once referred to as the essential and integrated part of the platform in the Kinect is not actually required for the thing to function. This, according to an interview with IGN conducted by Mark Whitten of Microsoft, who's the chief product officer, of course, behind the Xbox One. And he said that, like we said, it's not mandatory, but he didn't mention that, that being said, like online functionality, the console will still function if the Kinect isn't plugged in, although you won't be able to use any feature or experience that explicitly uses the sensor.
Really? And that seems odd. If you don't have it hooked up, you can't use some feature from it.
It's almost like saying this vacuum cleaner won't run unless it's plugged into an electrical outlet.
Really?
I mean, it really is kind of, it's mind-bending.
And just like a vacuum cleaner, this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the deal. Okay, so, they're really pushing the Xbox Kinect with Xbox One. What they said was, again, there's a lot of games that are going to take advantage of it. Having it unplugged means you can't use those things. If you do utilize a game like Kinect Sports Rivals, or basically anything that we know is going to use Kinect, you'll be prompted to plug the Kinect in order to continue playing. So this, I think
games that require it, there's a lot of games that are enhanced by it, but these games that require it, you have to have.
So this leaves me with this determination: A, stop lying about everything that the console is, Microsoft, and let us know technically exactly what is required for the console to function, because it's changing week to week. B, release a $399 version without Kinect. That's what needs to happen here. If this is the case, people like us, or people like me specifically, I want to play the next Dishonored, the next Dragon Age, the next Deus Ex. If it doesn't require
Kinect Sports,
if it doesn't require Kinect, I want to have options to buy a $399 console without having to buy the Kinect. The Kinect is actually something, to me personally, that is a detractor. It's not something that I want. I don't want to be watched every time I'm playing a video game, and I feel that they need to offer something. If it's essential, if it's not essential, they need to really go out of their way to be competitive with Sony at the price point and do that. And lastly, the thing is, they're getting us to buy something that's unproven before they prove it to us. They've had this whole generation to prove that we need it. The vast majority of gamers like us and our caliber of gamer do not want Kinect or feel like it's still something that could develop into something good, but it hasn't proven itself. So before we pay for it,
no, we want it yet, Daniel.
Well, before we pay for it, make it prove itself and not vice versa. That's all I have to say. Now I disconnect.
So
what do you guys think?
Not to blow my own trombone, but I pretty much told you that this was the case.
Okay.
It seems like it was in the last few weeks when we were talking about this, and I think it was you, Daniel, said something about, they're saying it connects required, and I said, yeah, that's probably not the case though. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you would like to petition Microsoft to stop lying about their products, invent a time machine, go back to 1990 and get the fuck in line. So number one, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, Daniel, that marketing the Xbox One would have gone a lot smoother. Number one, if Microsoft would stop lying, and number two, if they hadn't have basically developed the world's worst feature set imaginable for their console at the outset, and now basically all they've done since they announced the Xbox One is reverse course on everything that it ever was supposed to be or do.
Yeah.
And I'm really anxious to see exactly how much this ends up mattering in the retail sales arena when this and the PlayStation 4 go head-to-head later this year. I'm really, really dying to know how much of this stuff is actually going to matter. For me, it really does just kind of drive home the point that, I don't think that Microsoft is necessarily, I don't think they're really doing anything to kind of win my business at this point. As a matter of fact, I feel like they're kind of driving me away with some of the things that they're doing and saying. But I'm kind of I can hear Tony sort of nodding here. I actually don't think that any of this in any way is going to impact the launch of the Xbox One. I think that for like those diehard fans who either don't really follow this kind of news and don't care, or people who, basically are like, I'm an Xbox gamer and I'm going to have, whatever Microsoft puts out. I think that those people, none of this is going to matter at all. And I have to say that as vocal as we are about this, I really don't think it's going to ultimately matter to all that much. I think that the system's still probably going to sell really well in spite of all of these missteps.
I am intrigued by the fact that Tony has an audible nod, by the way. So go ahead. I'm interested in hearing that.
So first off, I think it should be pointed out that at this point, literally, the only thing that they can go back on is to literally go back to their feature set from when they first announced the Xbox One.
And it's going to be
at this point, they have changed absolutely everything. So the only way would be to start going back again to what they originally said. But there's only one thing to this story that I do give at least some credence to, that they talked about a little bit in that, and well, they didn't really specifically talk to it, but like some people that are proponents of having the Kinect bundled in, and some people kind of saying that, like, why even do the PlayStation camera if you're not going to add it with the system? There's just no point to doing it. I do think that there is a little bit to say that if you don't put the peripheral in with every single console, who is going to bother trying new things with it? Right. And I'm right there with, I don't care. I could give a damn. I don't really want the thing. I don't personally see these options down the road that I think are going to be like great options to have the Kinect sensor for. But I also I don't know, that I think there is something to be said for the fact that, if they do include it with every system, we might start to see a reason to have the device. Now, everybody kind of says like, well, I don't really care. I don't want to pay for something that's unproven. I mean, to a certain degree, we're always paying for something that's unproven. I mean, the system as a whole. So, for them to put in something, that we're not wholeheartedly sure about until they just do it across the board, I don't think they're going to get a lot of buy-in.
But
having said that, I do
examples of video game consoles trying to do like these one-off peripherals that all have just failed over the. I mean, like the fucking Robbie the Robot with the NES.
Well, literally,
one example.
Almost every single example across the board really has been that way. I mean, you look at every single one. Now, some have had limited success, or have had some potential success, but as a whole,
like the Zapper on the NES.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But even that, I really doubt that many people that didn't get the system with the gun went out and bought it with a game. Like, I mean, I think they pretty much, they bought the system that had the gun initially. I don't really see the point of it. So do you not see at least some value in that, at least, to like having to give the device, a way to be able to get, or I mean, not give it away, but
I mean, yes. I mean, if it's installed, if it comes with every console, then developers have more freedom to know that they can justify spending time, effort, and energy and resources developing features for it because they know that it has an audience as opposed to a hit or miss. But that being said, I find it extremely discouraging that in this generation, with the current Kinect, there has not been a single experience produced by any developer that has attracted core gamers like us to say that is a reason to look forward to the future of Kinect. Kinect and what it's doing on Xbox One is an enhanced version of what already exists. It is changing the game, which wasn't that great, and that's the bottom line. So we've had this whole generation, and that's my point. Is if they've got to prove that this is something we want before we buy it. So offering a version without
isn't it a chicken and an egg thing though? I mean, like, are they not going to, like, why go through all the effort of trying to make this thing work if only, 10% of the, adoption rate to, people that have consoles?
No,
like if it's 100%,
totally their
maybe
attitude.
they'd be more.
I mean, their attitude is totally, we've got to get these in people's homes so they can see how good it is. And then once we've got them in people's homes, developers will make games for them because we'll have the installed base. I mean, you're absolutely right in that, you've got to do something to at least, try to kind of start the pebble rolling downhill and hope that it snowballs. But that's the point, is we're not at the beginning of that process. Right. They've had Kinect in the marketplace, and they've had the opportunity to demonstrate what it can do for core gamers, and they've failed to deliver on that.
Well, but I guess that's my whole point, though, is I still don't think that the adoption rate. I mean, like, I think they sell something like 15 million Kinects to this date.
I think it's 20 something million. I mean, there's a pretty hefty amount.
Like 60 It's in the neighborhood of like 60 million consoles or something like that, isn't it?
Okay, so
I can't
about a
remember
third of
about a third of the audience. But again, the thing for me, not about install. I can't think of one
yes,
singular
but install
experience.
base has to be there before the really creative teams will even bother looking at it. Don't you think? I mean,
no, I
don't
think
get
the
me wrong.
really
I
creative
don't.
teams do it because they're trying to figure out what they can do with the tech. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Xbox
no, but I guess what I'm saying is not the most, but like the big team. Like, I'm just saying, like, I think like the teams behind Titanfall or the teams behind the new Call of Duty or whatever.
Well, they won't
like
touch
they're
it,
not
sure.
going to bother really putting in that time because they're like, look, our time is better spent over here because we're only even if this feature is cool, we're only hitting this percentage of the users.
Yeah, no.
If they say, hey, this feature is cool and it's going to be used by 100%, like I guess my
totally
point
get
is
it.
because I don't like
think
it.
the third-party developers though are necessarily like the best. Like I don't know if that's the best example anyway because. They really, just in terms of being efficient, they really don't tend to do dramatically different things from one console to the next just because it's not cost effective. So the idea that they're going to invest a lot of time in building some mechanic around a peripheral that's exclusive to one out of like the 3 platforms that their game is going to.
And I guess that's kind of my point.
Anyway.
I guess that's kind of my point because if the camera say came with all the PlayStation 4s. You might start to see more people taking a chance or trying to. I guess that's my whole point.
Totally
is that
get your point.
I will. Here's the thing. I don't give 2 shits about the Kinect. If I could get the system without the Kinect and save $100, I absolutely would because I don't care about it whatsoever. I guess my point though is because there's people out there that I think are making. I don't think necessarily the strongest point, but I think it's a strong point that there's some things that some of these companies try to do. And because of these things like adoption rate and things like that they can't ever quite get off the ground. So it's almost like we sometimes we don't take chances on certain things.
Yeah, but software moves hardware. I mean, that's always been the paradigm, whether you're talking about console games or, computers or, whatever. I mean, people buy hardware in order to have some kind of experience that they can't have without it. And whether that's like a video card or,
but that's core hardware. We're talking about an additional piece of equipment.
But my point is this, and I totally agree with what you're saying.
The right game will sell Kinect, but the right game has never come along that sold that hardware.
I totally agree in what you're saying. In fact, I had the exact same argument when it was recently announced that Arkham Origins, the developers were going to drop multiplayer support on the Wii U because there wasn't an install base for online with the Wii U. And my tweet to them was, well, how are we going to get great multiplayer games until developers, support the platform and this, that, and the other thing? And what came back to me from a lot of people and others was, hey, it's Nintendo's job to make sure that ecosystem exists for the publisher and developer of the title so that they can do it. And my argument here is specifically with Microsoft. They've had this entire generation to prove to us, to go out of their way to validate that Kinect is something for the hardcore, to cultivate experiences that would be interesting to us, to lose money on validating that thing is going to be worthwhile, to just give us one singular experience that can give us the opportunity to look forward to what Xbox Kinect will offer on Xbox One, and that hasn't happened, and now they're charging us to pay for it up front in order to build that. That's my point.
All right.
All right. So next up
Thank
we have...
God we don't have to talk about Microsoft anymore today.
Next up we have the announcement that the Xbox One is going to be talking about some of their home gold details. These are some of the things that you can do with the gold account. Brent, what kind of things special good things are we going to be able to do?
All right, so what the Xbox Home Gold benefits essentially are going to allow you to do is you're going to be able to have other people that are in your household that are using your Xbox One console. They're going to be able to access functions of the Xbox Live Gold subscription, things like digital game access, content sharing. So essentially, we had a lot of people. I can't remember how long ago it's been on the show, but when we talked about kind of the Xbox Live Gold thing, but people were basically talking about how it's cordoned off, and essentially you'd have to have like multiple people with Xbox Live Gold memberships in order for them to enjoy all the benefits of that on the same console. And now you don't have to do that. You'll have access to, if one person on that console has an Xbox Live Gold membership, the other users on that console will be able to enjoy those things. So I think that that's that's a great idea.
Sure.
That's absolutely a worthwhile feature. And
yeah.
How is that
What
not
else?
what we already have though?
Well, some
doesn't
things
this
are
seem
different.
like we're adding in a feature that sounded like it was going to be removed this time around?
It's the old switcheroo.
Well, in all seriousness, essentially, if you own the game now, whoever is logged into that system could put the game in and play it. Now, I guess if they had a different account and you'd purchase like DLC for it, sometimes that may or may not work depending on the game. Yada yada yada. But I mean, like. The one detail they talk about this is that you can log into your account from another location, right?
And bring it multiplayer. I think that's the biggest thing. So like if you don't have
And also,
Xbox
like, the
Live Gold
entertainment
and
apps.
if I come over to yours and log into my account, we could watch Netflix, we could play multiplayer. That's pretty cool. And that's
it's really rare to find a device in a home that can play Netflix. So I mean, you got to give it up. I mean, that's absolutely worthwhile.
well,
thing, though,
let's
is
give some.
what-
I mean, it's good. Let's be positive about. I mean, it's not bad.
I
It's
don't
not
think
a
it's
negative.
necessarily good. It's okay. It better have that. All right.
Sure.
So like to me, I don't get the whole logging in and playing. Being able to download your content. So I own the all the content, the digital. I've bought it digitally, whatever, for Battlefield 4, and I go over to Daniel's house, and Daniel doesn't have Battlefield 4, and we're like, hey, you want to check it out? Sweet. Let's go do something for 2 hours while it downloads onto your
Meanwhile,
console.
30 gigs later.
So that I can log into my account and you can play it. Like, I don't really understand how that's a useful feature
Well,
at all.
I don't know
think,
that
I
we're-
don't think it's got as much utility as Microsoft is making it out.
Well, and
what
also
were
we
you gonna
don't know
say,
exactly
DKL?
how that's going to work because they are talking about downloads and digital downloads playing before they're fully downloaded. So maybe that's baked into that experience somehow. I don't
And
know.
that's good. As opposed to the Netflix thing, that is actually legitimately good.
So I mean, there's some positive nuggets here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think, but yeah, we don't know the details, and exactly what you said, Tony, is a concern. Like, I mean, it sounds great on the surface, but if you do have to deal with, okay, let me go download this every single time I go to somebody's house, and it takes forever. So hopefully they're figuring out a way to make that less cumbersome. But all in all, this is a more sharing focused. I think the point of this for them is that they have the opportunity to show off the benefits of gold through that personal experience, user to user. But for me personally, there's just like hardly ever an instance where I would put any of these features to use in my
that's what I'm
personal life.
saying.
Yeah.
So.
And I just don't really see anybody else really using them. Like, it's one of those things, like, I can see that one time where you go to a friend's house and you're talking and you're like, oh, wait a minute, wait, I forgot, I can do this.
Or it's like Thanksgiving
and then
in
that
your
one
aunt,
time that
your
makes it
cousin's
handy when you're
house.
stuck at a friend's house for
I
like
would really
Thanksgiving
be, I would
weekend
really
or
be
something.
curious to know, and I think that's got a lot to do with like maybe like our age bracket.
Yeah.
I would really be curious to know especially for like younger adults and like teenagers. I would really be curious to know like how often they end up using something like that. I mean, because I can't think of an instance in the last 3 years where I've been over at a friend's house and thought, I so desperately wish that I could download this game to your console and let you check it out, as opposed to me just like, oh, hey, I brought this game for you to check out, and I hand it to them. You know what I mean?
Well, and also, let's be honest, this is 2013. We fucking game online against each other. We don't go. I haven't had physical contact with another human being in like 8 months.
By the way, I've got a plaque here from the human race saying thank you.
They're worse than us in terms of face-to-face socializing.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and they probably stole the game to begin with, so they don't even have the fucking
Damn youngins.
All right, guys, we're in the main topic this week, and we have some upcoming here pretty soon. We've got some news around Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
Yet another let's go around wreaking havoc game because we don't have enough of those.
There's $1 million edition.
They're saying $2 million. They gotta do it one better. So anyway, Brent, can you kind of take us down what some of the rumors are, what some of the discussions are, what some of the details we're hoping to hear pretty soon are?
Absolutely. Well, I think probably one of the most interesting things, since this show comes out on Thursday, the day this show will be airing is the day that Grand Theft Auto Online is going to be revealed. So there's going to be a ton of details and things the
For us
day
to
that
talk
you're
about
listening
next
to
week.
this that we unfortunately cannot see into the future to derive. So we're going to have to talk about those in a later show. But I am very interested to see what the Grand Theft Auto 5 online experience ends up being like. All right, now even more so, at least for me personally, this is something that Lauren and I have talked about to no end. Even more exciting for me is this possibility, and this very, very distinct possibility now, that Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be coming to PC sooner rather than later. I've always felt it was a pretty sure bet that it was going to end up on PC, but in similar fashion to Grand Theft Auto 4, where the PC version came out like maybe 5 or 6 months after the console release, I now am beginning to think that it's going to be a lot closer to the September, to the September launch window. So we know this because of Chris Evenden, a senior a senior investor relations person with NVIDIA,
Relations.
who during a conference call was basically talking about growth in the PC gaming market and support for that growth. And there were a couple of things that were mentioned, and the full quote goes something like, "Many consumers look for PC as a general purpose device they can use for browsing, email, social media, and video, but much of this can be better served by a tablet. In contrast, gamers are preparing their systems for a strong roster of games coming this fall, including blockbuster franchises such as Call of Duty Ghosts, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Assassin's Creed 4. So, if somebody at NVIDIA is saying Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming this fall, it is not an official announcement from Rockstar, but you know, if Grand Theft Auto 5 were coming, it's very likely somebody at NVIDIA would have that information. So, it's just a little nugget of a rumor to get excited about.
Sure.
In addition to all this, we've also gotten a fresh look at a lot of the environments of Grand Theft Auto 5 through this website that Rockstar has set up, which is sort of like a digital travel guide to Los Santos and Blaine County. So you can go and check out, all kinds of different aspects of the game, whether it's the cars, the shopping experiences that you'll be able to have, some of the things that you'll be able to do in the game, like, visiting the beach and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, It's just a little virtual tour through GTA 5.
Yeah.
The long and short of it is, the Grand Theft Auto franchise is like a 900-pound fucking pink elephant, and any GTA game is going to have a massive amount of interest in it. Where are we at with this right now? I mean, what do you guys think about, like how people are going to react to the Grand Theft Auto Online thing? Is that going to be like a really big deal? Do you think that, we're going to see this thing on PC, maybe day and date with consoles? Could we even hope for something that cool?
That would be huge. But I think, for me, I've stated several times on the show my, my level of interest in actually playing the game itself. I think for me, which is mild at best, but that's just my personal preference. But what I'm really interested in is everything that's going on. All them basically, hijacking the industry and stealing the show, stealing all of the attention leading up to launch, because this is a huge game release, and these guys at Rockstar stay so guarded, not only of information, but the way in which they deal with the media in a very take it or leave it type of mentality produces an environment where any details about their project is usually big. Then they go out and launch this website that is, as you said, a travel log of such that basically allows you to play around with the world and kind of get a taste of it a month before the game actually launches. So I'm really fascinated by the steps that they take in this process. We all know Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be huge commercially. We know that they're going to go out of their way to market this both to the hardcore and the mainstream. It's how they do it. We talk about on this show all the time, like what you say and how you say it is very, very important. And their slow ramp up here to information they've done a really good job of this ever since they've with Grand Theft Auto 4, and then also with Red Dead Redemption and other titles, and with LA Noire. They have these documentaries, they introduce us to the world. I think they've done a really, really good job here with GTA 5, and they really are stealing all the attention right now. Do you guys feel that, the hype is going to be justified with the game itself, or do you worry? Are you concerned, as people who are more interested in playing it than I am, that you might be oversaturated with information heading into launch, or what?
Yeah, I think I'm sort of in the same boat as you, DK, which is my interest in playing the game is sort of mild. I will say it has probably gotten a little bit more peaked since like its original announcement, because I gotta be honest, just never been a big Grand Theft Auto fan. Some of the online multiplayer details might interest me a little bit more, so it will be kind of interesting to see what they do. I guess though, just in a little bit broader, I don't know that. To me, it feels like the Grand Theft Auto franchise as a whole is sort of, I guess maybe a little more on maybe the potential downslope of the series. Not saying quality, like it's still a really good game, but I just don't really know that, like for instance, 4 I don't think was necessarily quite as highly regarded as some of the earlier games in the series, and not maybe necessarily because it was as bad or it wasn't as good a game, but just I don't know. I don't know if their storytelling is still really good, but it just seems like the games, there's not really a lot changing in the games. So I'll be really interested to see once the game comes out and see if people really still get in that same world and really enjoy it. I don't know. I don't feel like they're bringing enough new to the table.
This new three protagonist dynamic is new, but
I think that's
how is that? Okay, that's 3 players.
Outside looking in kind of thing. I mean, I think that the reason that Grand Theft Auto 4 it wasn't as maybe as highly regarded as some of the earlier games in the series, in my opinion, is because it had a lot more serious tone than the other games had, and it lost the sense of fun that the GTA series had, from 3 up through like San Andreas and the like the Liberty City stories, Vice City stories, all that stuff. And I think that Rockstar has gone out of their way in the things that they have released for Grand Theft Auto 5 to reassure everybody that the fun is back in the GTA series. So I think that the specific reason that GTA 4 is not as high in the canon as some of the others has been addressed at this point. So, and as far as them not bringing anything new to the table, I think that the 3-player protagonist thing is a pretty interesting thing. I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be ultra popular. I don't know how well it's going to work, but it certainly is doing something different, in my opinion.
I didn't say they're not doing anything different. I don't. Is that enough? Like you can play as 3 different roles.
Didn't you say?
That they're not bringing enough new to the table. To me, that's one thing. I'm not saying that one thing is not new.
Yeah, but
I'm saying that as a whole, are they?
But you've got to walk a line in a franchise like this. You got to be really careful because you can try and reinvent the wheel and change everything that's good about it, and that's going to scare people away. So I mean, it is a tightrope act of innovating and also sort of maintaining what's brought people, to the table 4 times already.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing I agree with TG that like the Grand Theft Auto name and just the Grand Theft Auto, like it used to be like and it still is one of the biggest things in the industry, but that excitement surrounding it, which is still huge, and don't get me wrong, but we kind of know what to expect is kind of my sensation, as opposed to are we going to be wowed by whatever. We're kind of going back to it now, like what you're saying, Brent, though, the idea that they're bringing fun back, and they definitely are focusing on these outlandish characters and maybe melding the 2 worlds of 4 and everything that preceded it by having a somewhat serious story that might serve as a backdrop to more fun activities. I feel like, what they've done here is kind of really think about what GTA means right now, and they're doing a good job of communicating that with the marketing and everything leading up to it. How it all comes together, obviously, we'll see in September, but there's no doubting that this is one of the biggest franchises in gaming. I, like you, Tony, would hope to see something different. I don't know that a franchise after a 5th game, though, can reinvent itself. It is what it is. I mean, how would you even begin to change something so drastically that it's or add new innovations that it would be considered, drastically different? But
I think online is the answer to that.
Online, potentially.
I think that the online is where they can really innovate and do something different.
That's true.
And we'll see if they do.
And they might have already announced it by the time this airs.
All right, guys. Well, we are coming up near the end of this week's skirmish, but first we have our battle cries of the week, and I'm gonna start off with my battle cries. Can go out to everybody. Kind of knows I'm a little more of the old school style. I love my fighters. I'm a big fighting game fan, and the news came out this week, or at least the last week or so, that we're going to be seeing King of Fighters 13 coming out on Steam.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I believe it's September, middle of September. I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head.
13th,
But 13th, there you go. But I think the big news, like the thing I think is really cool, is you can pre-order it right now on Steam and save yourself, I think, like $5, which is not too bad. Although it's on Steam, so it'll be like $7.50 at some point. So depending on how much you want to pay for it, how long you want to wait for it. But one of the cool things though is if you pre-order it right now, you basically get your name in the hat to be one of the beta testers for it. So I don't know, a game like this where I really think like netcode and online online fighting and stuff like that can be it's a little different than like an online shooter. It has to be a lot more kind of precise timing about certain things. So it can be really cool to be part of that. So I have pre-ordered it. I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully I'll get to be one of the beta testers.
Sweet.
Probably not, because
Come on, we could pull some strings.
can we?
Get you in there. Sure.
Probably not, right?
Sure.
All right. So Brent, what is your battle cry this week?
My battle cry this week goes out to the unveiling of a new title from Mike Bithell, creator of Thomas Was Alone. And this new game is called Volume, and it looks really, really interesting. Think sort of like Metal Gear Solid VR missions. It's a top-down stealth infiltration game that, in addition to having a story and a big bunch of missions and all this kind of stuff, the full game is basically user editable, and there's going to be user generated content added to the game on a regular basis. So it's got a level editor, it's got a story editor, and the people who play this game are going to be able to not only monkey with the existing missions in the game but create their own new ones. And aside from it just being like a level, they're also going to be able to kind of develop their own stories and things to go along with it. The premise of the game basically is a criminal who uses stealthy powers to steal whatever. And if you look at the gameplay footage, I mean, it does kind of bear resemblance to VR missions, just in terms of the environment and everything. It's not like super photorealistic kind of stuff, but it's more sort of a stylized 3D graphical flair. So anyway, it sounds really interesting. It looks pretty cool based on this piece of video that's out right now, and it's scheduled to be out next year. Bithell has said that he can't not see it coming to the PC, and there's some tweets that he's made that also suggest it might end up on the PlayStation 4. So anyway, it's just one of those games that kind of caught my eye, and I love stealth games, and I also love the idea of users being able to create stories and levels to go along with it. Sounds really cool to me.
Awesome.
That does look pretty badass, actually. All right, DK, what's your battle cry this week?
My battle cry this week, TG in 3D, goes out to Joseph Fars and the team at Starbreeze and 505 Games and everyone associated with Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, because this past weekend... No. I'm not going to put up with it this week. This game is awesome. Suck it. This game is fantastic. And this game it needs to be played by anyone who's remotely interested in it. I had an awesome experience playing Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons this past week, and the game finally released on August 7th, and I stayed up late one night playing it with my sons and completed it.
You stayed up past your bedtime? Wow.
Yeah, and completed it again. And this game is really, really well done, well produced. It's not the longest game in the world, but everything about the game makes sense once you complete it, and I just had a fantastic time with this. And this game is up there with Shadow of the Colossus territory with me, and some other games that will go down as extremely memorable experiences. So my battle cry goes out to the entire team.
You got paid to shill Shadow of the Colossus too?
You guys drive me nuts sometimes. I really like the game, and I wish you would just let me like something, and I was also right about this game being good. So there you go. So anyway, if you're remotely interested in Brothers, I highly recommend you check it out. There's a great moment in the game that really produces a backstory to people who say, you know what, interactive entertainment is different than all other forms of entertainment. And like I said, there's some things that happen in this game that really reinforce that. And this is it's a great title. It's a truly great title, and so props to everyone behind it.
In your defense, DK, I actually have been hearing really good things about this game.
Yeah, we're just giving you a hard time. It actually does look really cool. I would say definitely give it a try. And so you're saying now, though, it's also coming to
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. It was released for Xbox Live, obviously, last week for 1,200 Microsoft points, which was $15. It's going to be coming to PC on August 28th, and then September 3rd, PlayStation 3 owners will have an opportunity to play it as well. So within the next few weeks.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So now you got a couple more platforms to check it out on.
That would definitely be something I'd rather check out on PC.
All right. Well, I think I have the member battle cry this week, and it's comes from Andrew A. Oh,
he's from New York.
I'm sorry. I thought that was his last name. It's just Andrew A. I guess that's... and he says, speaking, we spoke, of course, last week about the MMO market and kind of some of the things that are upcoming. And, this is sort of his thoughts about it. He says, I agree in terms of MMOs needing to meet the quality of single-player games. MMOs tend to sacrifice gameplay heavily for multiple players interacting at all times, but I question the actual value of that. I think there should be a community you're interacting with. But that doesn't mean that when I go into town, I need to see 200 plus people spamming trades while another 100 or so are all gathered around the same smith to repair their equipment. It adds almost nothing to the game and costs frame rate, control, combat quality, AI, etc. As someone has said before, Dark Souls with more than 3 players is in a way that I can actually play with my friends equals sold. Hell, Skyrim with co-op is fine as well. That's what everyone was asking for anyways, Bethesda. I think he kind of has a point. Like, I think different games are different. I mean, I do think that there is sort of something to be said for there's just certain games that work well. But I also think that there are some games that maybe they try to expand into like a huge online world that maybe only need to be more of like a co-op experience or like a 4 or 6 party experience rather than just like everybody in the fucking world all playing at the same time.
I agree 100%. That was one of the things with you remember Dragon's Dogma. When I played the demo for that at E3, I was like, this is fucking fantastic. He's like, can you play this 3-4 player co-op? And they're like, oh no, it's single player only. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you out of your minds? It is such an obvious thing, especially if you kind of think back to the origins of these games and tabletop role playing, Dungeons and Dragons and so forth.
Yeah, it usually was 4 or 5, 6 people, right? I mean,
well, if you could get 4 or 5 people together, that'd be a really fun time. And I agree that in a way, I do wonder sometimes. I definitely think that MMOs sacrifice on storytelling immersion in a lot of these cases for a different kind of online experience that is a little bit more about combat, PvP, and just raiding, looting, that kind of stuff. And that's not to say that stuff isn't fun. It doesn't have its place.
Sure.
But I mean, the reason that I played SWTOR was because it basically could be like a single-player Star Wars game from BioWare
with friends
that I could also play with friends if I wanted to.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's at the core. I mean, I've mentioned millions of times on this show that to me,
millions?
Gaming
Hang on.
Are hundreds of thousands, if at least, maybe billions. But I've always mentioned that to me, gaming is the convergence of art and creativity and technology. And I think when you look back at the roots of this genre, with games like EverQuest and even World of Warcraft, really the big thing was the technological capability of just being online with your friends. That was the big thing. That was new, that was fresh, that was the crux of what was at the experience. But that's everywhere now. And so the genre hasn't evolved to the point. We've seen some games like he's pointed out here with or other users have pointed out as well with titles like Guild Wars and other stuff that are doing more interesting things within that. But just getting away with there's a bunch of people online and they're all in the same world as I am, that's lost its appeal, or it's at least its shine. Now it's got to be more about that experience which I think, oddly enough, the ironic fact is that more people want an intimate experience out of an MMO in this day and age as the genre has continued to evolve. So it'll be interesting to see how these things all meld together and who actually creates that one experience that is going to be great.
I've got my eye on you, Elder Scrolls Online.
There you go.
All right, well, that is going to wrap it up for this week's Skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week. And please join us once again next week when we will be mercilessly cleaving the fat from the gaming stories of the day.
But not in 3 weeks.
For Brent... but not in 3 weeks. Yes. In 3 weeks, no Skirmish for you. For Brent Adams and for Daniel Kaiser, I'm your host, Tony Grice. And remember, cry havoc, and don't try to watch us in 3 weeks. You will be sadly
You will be sadly disappointed. We're going to remind
in 2 weeks,
you.
You'll be fine.
2
4
weeks,
weeks,
in a week,
you'll be
You'll be
cool.
fine. But in
3
3
weeks,
weeks, totally fucked.
We're going to
Fuck you up,
remind
you stupid
everyone.
ass.
Yeah, but unless we decide to pull a Microsoft in reverse policy.
I think we're already planning 3 weeks in advance. That's more than Microsoft plans ahead, I think.
In fairness to us, yes.
We should announce things for the show with the sole purpose of just reversing them. Like this week, we're going to do something different on the Gauntlet, and then like when we get to the Gauntlet, be like, nah, we switched. We're going to do it the same as
Daniel
always.
Kaiser's on next week's episode.